And that's why I want to move here.
Yeah, and it's completely different, right? I've seen a transition because I graduated in 2000, and obviously that was right before the 2008, crash and all of this other type of stuff, or the
Mm-hmm.
recession or whatever. But I've always been fascinated with the city. Even back then, I've been like fascinated. It took everything for them to be able to get me to move out, simply because we had a daughter and things like that. But it took everything for them to get me out of the city temporarily. But I've always been immersed, in it, which is one of the reasons why my office is here, why we moving back and
Yeah.
all of that. But I've spent my whole life, living in the city, and people have no clue. They have no clue
Right.
what the cultural norms are. They don't know where the local spots are. They don't know where the bars at. They don't even know where the popular parts are. You know, they don't even know their way around Greektown.
Right?
Honestly,
I'm shocked. I go on TikTok live a lot, and when I'm talking to people, they ask me these questions, and I'm like, I thought this was just known.
no,
Like,
it's
I thought
not.
y'all knew these. This is the small part of Detroit. Detroit is 139 square miles.
It
I'm
is.
in like 1.2 square miles of that.
It is. People have no clue whatsoever, and I think part of it is just a narrative that's just been painted for so long, um, whether it be the news or whatever, so on and so forth. And it's interesting. Okay, so you start to, when did you move from the
Yeah.
time that you started
It,
discovering, like, just from coming into work? How long did it take you to
so
make
I
the
started
transition?
working here May 2018, and it took me like a little over a year to save up money and like be in a place that I could afford to live downtown because it's expensive.
It is.
So I moved during the pandemic in 2020.
You moved in a crazy time too.
Yeah, it was crazy because when I first started coming down here in 2018, it was like prime of the resurgence. Like it
Yeah,
was
it is.
so busy all the time. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's what I fell in love with. And then during the pandemic, obviously everything shut down.
Yep.
So it was a different vibe, but like it was also great because I would get out and I would walk and I would move and I would explore different parts of the city that I probably wouldn't have done if things
Mm-hmm.
were still popping off and I was just like going out every day.
Yeah.
So I would say during that time, like the pandemic time, is when I really got versed in the city and the culture and like understanding it.
Yeah, you came down during a unique time because then we had the Q line.
Hmm.
They had already started building up a lot of the different buildings and, different apartments and transitioning the stuff over. And then you got Campus Martius Park and all of that other type of stuff. And so it's funny because when I take people down here that has lived in the city basically their whole life, but never actually spent time in different parts of the city, they just stayed in their own little neighborhood or they may have moved out to
Hmm.
the suburbs or whatever. And I bring them down here, whether it be for a game or something like that. They're like, wait a minute, what is all of this? They have no clue of what's happening
That's
down
the
here.
same as my friends in the suburbs, so we got something in common.
So, have your friends in the suburbs came to visit you and then had their mind blown and then made the
Yes.
transition? Honestly,
Everyone I bring down here loves it. Like even my grandparents who grew up on the west side during the 60s
mm-hmm.
riots, like and they were scarred. I took them down here. They're 80 years old now last year, and my grandparents were like in awe. They were like, "What? Like this is our city?" I'm like, "Yes, it's back. It's here. Like
Yeah.
we're here."
So, what made you start your? Because different people start their content journey based
Hmm.
off of a lot of different things. They can talk about relationships. They can talk about money. They can talk about whatever is popping and whatever the newest trend is. You decided to go down this journey that's basically documenting your life and your experiences. What made you
Yeah.
do that?
It was essentially, I started it for my family and myself. um, so I used to use Snapchat and I would post on there and people would just tell me like from the burbs, they would be like, "Whoa, that stuff's really cool. Like you need to put this somewhere else. You need to put this somewhere else where you can get more friends, more followers." Um, and they would like my mom and her friends would like to see what I was doing every day because they don't know a lot
Mm.
about the city.
Mm-hmm.
So I just started posting on there one so I could remember. Like everything was new to me and I was so in love with everything. So I think my perspective was like pretty unique
Mm-hmm.
because I was always like, holy shit, look at that building. So I really just started to like show my family back at home like I'm actually living my life and like it's not dangerous. Like I feel fine. I'm doing these cool things. And then I woke up one morning and it was just like you have 17,000 followers on TikTok. And I
Mm.
was like, "Whoa. What?" one of my videos had went viral, and half of the people were like, this girl's gentrifying the city, and half of the people were like, this girl's so cool, Detroit's so cool. So I just like woke up to that and rode the wave, I guess.
People think of gentrification as though you came down rich and you just completely making it unlivable, or people are making it unlivable for people that wasn't here. Now, here's my impression of it, and this is from a perspective of a person that grew up here, went to Cass Tech, literally around the corner. You know, I was walking around Greektown my whole life when I was a young kid. I was catching the Hamilton bus down 7 Mile, all the way down the Lodge, you know, straight to school, so on and so forth. I find it hypocritical for a lot of people to say stuff like that because they were the ones that was moving away when everything seemed to get tough, right? They was like, you know what, I don't want to be bothered, I don't want to do this. And then it was white people, black people, Asians, it was a lot of different people, and most of them were younger that was like, you know what, it's dope down here, or I could stake my claim, or, you know, I can really hang out, or it's a lot of cultural differences and influences. It wasn't even so much about the amenities. It wasn't so much about campus marshes or, you know, rebuilding up Midtown or Ford buying Corktown or, you know, the Central Depot, anything like that. It wasn't any of that. It was just like people were, you know, really coming into the city that just truly loved the city from all walks of life, even from different states. And then when people that left started to see all of the things that the young people were and people that were in prominence and power was building up, then it was like, oh, wait a minute, you know, gentrification. That's always like the buzzword that you can use in order to you know, justify whatever it is that you should have been doing when everybody else came in and wanted to participate in something that you didn't want to be a part of. So I find it to be a cop-out. I
That's
genuinely find
interesting.
it to be a cop-out because I wish the city had more people. You know, I wish it was more people that truly wanted to be a part of the fabric of what's going on down here. And I can't wait for more people to be a part of it, even though it's kind of like, it's still like a hidden gem compared to, you know, a lot of other stuff. But I can't wait for people to really start to, you know, embrace it even more because, you know, then we can create an even bigger culture and an even bigger phenomenon for what's going on in the city. Does that bother you when you see comments online that may not necessarily like the content that you put up or whatever, but they follow just so they can continue to comment?
Yeah, so it did bother me at first, just because like I knew my intentions were so pure that it hurt me to think that other people didn't see that. But it took me a while to, I talked to a lot of people, I talked to a lot of native Detroiters, and I had to come to terms with like, by definition, yes, I'm a gentrifier, but there are things that I can do to be more intentional and, you know, help the community. So I purposely did not move into a building that was like a building that kicked, you know, they like had affordable rent or something. Like I chose not to move into like spaces that I knew were displacing people or just getting, that's one thing. Like that's why I want to get to know the community. I want to understand the needs of the community. Like I'm trying to combat it in other ways.
I don't think
But
you have to justify yourself. I honestly,
thank you.
I don't think you owe anybody an apology. You don't owe anybody nothing. I think that you should do what you want to do when you want to do it.
I
You live,
appreciate
work, and
that.
play. You put on, you celebrate. You do more for the city, honestly, than people that's been here that probably take away from the city.
I
So
appreciate
don't
that.
ever feel like you have to justify
Yeah.
yourself to anybody because the people that don't like you, they're not. And this is coming from a person that's been in content creation for a long time. The people that don't like you, they're not gonna start liking you just because you doing the thing that,
Right.
you know what I'm
I think
saying?
it just makes me feel better.